Let me ask you something, and I need you to be honest with yourself when you answer it. How many people in your life, right now, today, actually believe you're going to make it? Not the ones who smile at you at family dinners. Not the ones who say I'm proud of you when things are going well. I mean the people who actually believe, deep in their bones, that you are going to do something extraordinary with your life. Take a second, count them. For a lot of you, the number is very small. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 0. Maybe the only person who has ever truly believed in what you're capable of is the person watching this video right now. And if that's you, if you are building something with no cheerleaders, no one to call when things get hard, no mentor pulling you up, no family that understands what you're trying to do, then this video was made for you. Because I want to tell you something that most people are too afraid to say. The fact that you have no support is not your disadvantage. It is your edge. And by the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly why and exactly what to do with it. Here is the story you've been told your entire life. Success is a team sport. You need the right connections. You need someone to open the door. You need a mentor, a network, a family with money, a community that lifts you up. You need people behind you. Without that, you're already behind. That's the story. And it feels true. Because you can see it everywhere. You watch people rise who had every advantage. You watch the kids from the right neighborhoods, the right schools, the right last names, and it looks easy for them. It looks like they were born with a cheat code you didn't get. And slowly, quietly, without even realizing it, you start to believe that you are behind. That the race started before you even got to the starting line. That maybe, just maybe, the people around you who said, "Be realistic. Don't aim too high. People like us don't make it like that," maybe they were right. I need you to hear me clearly right now. They were not right. They were just stuck. And they wanted company. Napoleon Hill spent over 25 years studying more than 500 of the most successful people in human history. Presidents, inventors, industrialists, people who built empires from nothing. And what he found over and over again, in almost every single case, was this: they started with nothing. Not almost nothing. Nothing. No money, no influence, no one holding the door open. Edison had 3 months of formal schooling. Henry Ford was broke and illiterate before he built one of the greatest industrial empires the world had ever seen. Andrew Carnegie arrived in America as a poor immigrant boy. Lincoln failed in business, failed in politics, suffered a nervous breakdown before he became one of the greatest leaders in history. The people the world calls legends were not born into support systems. They were born into difficulty, into doubt, into environments that gave them every reason to stop before they started, and they built anyway. So let me ask you this, and really sit with it. What if the struggle you're in right now isn't a sign that you're behind? What if it's a sign that you're in exactly the right school? Because here's what no one tells you about support. Support feels good, but it does not build the thing that actually makes you unstoppable. Comfort builds comfort. Encouragement feels warm, but the quality that separates the people who eventually win from the people who keep almost winning, the quality that Napoleon Hill called the single most important force in all of human achievement, that quality is not built in warmth. It is built in fire. Hill called it a burning desire, not a wish, not a hope, not "I'd like to be successful someday," a consuming obsession. A desire so deep and so definite that it transcends every obstacle, every rejection, every discouraging voice, including the ones in your own head. And here is the critical thing. The thing that changes everything, once you understand it, a burning desire, is almost never born in comfort. It is born in the exact kind of conditions you are living in right now. Think about Edwin Barnes. In the early 1900s, this young man had a single obsession. He wanted to become a business partner of Thomas Edison. Not an employee, a partner of the most famous inventor alive. He had no money. He had no connections. He didn't even know Edison. He could not afford a train ticket to Edison's laboratory in New Jersey, so he rode there on a freight train, like a tramp. He walked in off the street. He looked like nothing. He had nothing. There was no one backing him, no one vouching for him, no resume, no recommendation, just a burning, definite desire and the audacity to show up. Edison looked at him and later said, "When a man really desires a thing so deeply that he is willing to stake his entire future on a single turn of the wheel, he is sure to win." Edison gave him the chance. Barnes didn't become a partner that day. He started at the bottom, sweeping floors, doing the work no one else wanted. And for 5 years, there was not a single visible sign of progress, not one promise that his goal was coming closer. To everyone around him, he looked like just another cog in a machine. But in his own mind, he had already decided. He was not there for a job. He was there to become a partner. And he never once flinched from that decision. 5 years later, the opportunity came. Not from the front door. It came disguised. It crept in through a back window. And because Barnes had stayed ready, because he had never let that burning desire go cold, he recognized it. He moved, and he became what he had always decided he would become. Now here is what I need you to take from that story. Barnes had no support. He had no one saying, "You can do this, Edwin." He had no mentor in his corner. He had no family money. He literally arrived at the most important meeting of his life, looking like a tramp. And he won. Not because luck found him, but because he had built something inside himself, through the very loneliness and difficulty of his position, that no comfortable person could have built. He had learned to be his own believer, and that is the first thing you must understand. If you are going to win with no support, the support you are waiting for from other people, you have to build it inside yourself. Brick by brick, decision by decision, day by day. Because the world does not owe you a cheerleader, but the world cannot stop a person who has become their own. Now, there is something deeper here, something beneath the surface of everything I just told you. Because the question isn't just how to survive without support. The real question is, what do you do when the people who were supposed to support you are the ones who most want to see you stay small? That is what we need to get into next. There is a specific kind of pain that nobody talks about. Not the pain of having enemies who want you to fail. That pain is clean. You know where it's coming from. You can protect yourself from it. I am talking about the pain of being doubted by the people you love. Your parents who say, "Be realistic." Your friends who laugh, not cruelly, but nervously, when you talk about your dreams. Your partner who says, "I just don't want to see you get hurt." The cousin at the family gathering who asks, "So when are you going to get a real job?" These people are not villains. They are not trying to destroy you. Most of them love you. Some of them love you deeply. But their love is not enough to silence the damage their doubt does. Because here is what their doubt actually does inside you. Napoleon Hill identified it. He called it the fear of criticism. And he said it is perhaps the most dangerous and most invisible enemy of human achievement. Because it doesn't look like fear. It looks like being reasonable. It looks like listening to people who care about you. It looks like humility. It feels like wisdom. But here is what is actually happening. Every time you shrink your dream to fit someone else's comfort, every time you stay silent about your goals because you don't want to hear the reaction, every time you convince yourself to aim a little lower so that no one thinks you're crazy, you are not being humble. You are letting fear dress itself in the clothes of wisdom, and you are paying for it with your life. Hill said the fear of criticism robs people of their initiative, their ambition, their self-reliance, their will to create. And it starts almost always with well-meaning people. People who destroyed someone's confidence through opinions or ridicule they meant to be helpful. How many times have you started something? A business, a creative project, a plan, a dream, and told someone close to you about it, and watched the expression on their face, the slight flicker of doubt, the "well, just be careful" that landed like a stone in the pit of your stomach. And maybe you kept going, but something shifted. The fire got a little smaller. That is the fear of criticism, working invisibly, doing its damage quietly. And here is what makes this so brutal: when you have no support, when there is no one in your corner, when there is no one around you who actively believes in your vision, every voice of doubt becomes louder. It fills the silence. It occupies the space that encouragement would have filled. And slowly, if you are not careful, you start to become your own worst skeptic. You start to have the doubt conversation with yourself. Who am I to want this? What makes me think I can do something no one in my family has ever done? Maybe they're right. Maybe I should just be grateful for what I have. I need to stop you right there. Because those thoughts are not your thoughts. Those are borrowed thoughts. Thoughts you absorbed from people around you who had already given up on their own dreams and needed you to give up on yours too, so the decision wouldn't feel so lonely. Misery, as they say, loves company. And here's the hard truth: some of the people closest to you, not all of them, but some of them, need you to fail. Not because they hate you, but because your success would make their decision to stop, their choice to stay safe, stay small, stay where it was comfortable, it would make that decision harder to live with. So unconsciously, they discourage you. They protect their peace by dimming your light. And you have to decide, right now, today, not tomorrow, that you will not let them. Samuel Adams, the founder, the revolutionary, was a man who had almost nothing. No money, no army, no formal power. He was just a man with a burning purpose and the willingness to act on it. When the British governor sent a messenger to Adams and said, "Stop what you're doing. We will reward you. We will make your life comfortable. Just be quiet." Adams looked at that messenger and said, "No personal consideration shall induce me to abandon the righteous cause." No personal consideration. Not money. Not safety. Not the approval of the most powerful empire on earth. He had decided. And no one could undecide him. That decision, that kind of irreversible, locked-in, burning decision, is what you are being called to make right now. Not a decision to try. A decision to become. Napoleon Hill made the distinction clearly. He said there is an enormous difference between wishing for something and being ready to receive it. A wish can be talked out of you. A wish collapses under pressure. A wish disappears when the people around you doubt it loudly enough. But a burning decision, a definiteness of purpose so deep that it lives in your bones, that cannot be argued away. It cannot be mocked away. It cannot be starved away by the silence of people who should have shown up for you and didn't. The most powerful thing a person with no support can do is make a decision so complete, so total, so absolute, that the absence of support becomes irrelevant. Barnes did not need Edison to believe in him on day one. He burned all bridges. He left himself no exit. He made support from others unnecessary because he had supplied his own, in the form of a decision that would not bend. Here is how you do it. Hill gave us what he called autosuggestion. And I know the word sounds like something from a dusty psychology textbook. But stay with me. Your mind is a factory. Every day, it is producing the conditions of your life. And the raw material it uses, the raw material it cannot work without, is the thought you feed it most often and most intensely. If you feed it fear, it produces fear. If you feed it poverty consciousness, it produces poverty. If you feed it doubt, the collected doubt of every person who ever told you that you weren't enough, it produces a life that proves them right. But if you feed it a burning, specific, emotionalized vision of what you are becoming, it begins to produce that, not by magic, by mechanics, by the way the mind works, which Hill said the scientists of his day had not yet caught up to, but which we know from modern neuroscience to be true. The brain is literally restructured by what it focuses on. It builds pathways. It filters for evidence. It begins to find what it is looking for. This is why Hill said to write down your definite purpose. Read it aloud every morning and every night. See yourself already in possession of it, not as fantasy, as a rehearsal for reality. This is not positive thinking in the sense most people use the phrase, a kind of dreamy, passive hoping. This is aggressive mental programming. This is you taking control of the factory, because no one else will. Because here's the thing. The people in your life who had support, they had other voices feeding their subconscious mind with belief. Their parents said you can do it. Their mentors said I see something in you. Their communities said we believe in you. You don't have those voices, so you have to become all of them. You have to read the words to yourself that no one read to you. You have to tell yourself the things that no one told you. You have to be the mentor, the parent, the community, all of it for yourself. And I will not lie to you and say it's easy. It is one of the hardest things a human being can do. To sustain belief in yourself in the absence of external validation. To keep the fire burning when no one else is blowing on it. That requires a level of discipline and self-reliance that most people never develop. But here is what Napoleon Hill found. After 25 years of studying 500 of the most successful people who ever lived, the people who developed that capacity, the people who learned to be their own engine, their own belief system, their own support structure, those people did not just survive the absence of support. They became extraordinary because of it. If you're still here, if this is landing for you, stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you next is the one thing most people miss. They understand desire, they understand decision, but they miss the one practice that turns both of those things from intention into identity. Here is the question that matters. You can be inspired by this video. You can feel something shift in your chest right now. You can decide in this moment that you are going to build something, and then life is going to happen. Your circumstances are not going to change overnight. The people around you are not going to suddenly become your biggest supporters. The obstacles are still going to be there tomorrow morning, and 3 weeks from now, and 6 months from now. So what do you actually do? The answer, the one Napoleon Hill returned to again and again, the one he said Bob Proctor read every single day, the one he considered the most important chapter in the entire book, is this: persistence. But not persistence the way most people think about it. Most people think persistence means gritting your teeth and suffering through. Willpower by brute force. Just endure. Just hang on. That's not what Hill meant. Hill said persistence is an essential factor in the procedure of transmuting desire into its physical equivalent. The basis of persistence is the power of will. And then he said something that I want you to write down. There is no substitute for persistence. It cannot be supplanted by any other quality. None. Not intelligence, not talent, not luck, not connections, not family money. You can have all of those things and still lose. And you can have none of those things and still win if you have persistence. Because here is what persistence does that nothing else can. It outlasts the resistance. Think about Fannie Hurst. She came to New York to be a writer. For 4 years, she was rejected. The Saturday Evening Post, one of the most prestigious publications in the country, sent her 36 rejection slips. 36. Most people leave after the first one. Some make it to 5. A few remarkable people make it to 10 or 15, and then decide the universe is telling them something. She kept going. And then, not because luck arrived, but because she was still standing when most people had gone home, the door opened. Publishers began seeking her out. Movie studios paid her what were then record amounts for her stories. She did not become a success despite her rejection. She became one because of what the rejection built in her. Hill described it this way: those who cultivate the habit of persistence seem to enjoy insurance against failure. No matter how many times they are defeated, they finally arrive at the top of the ladder. Now, here is where this connects directly to your situation. When you have no support, persistence is harder. There is no one to tell you to keep going. There is no one to notice when you're slipping. There is no accountability partner who texts you at 6 a.m. to make sure you showed up for yourself. You are building alone. Which means the 4 steps Hill gave for developing persistence are not optional for you. They are survival. Step 1. A definite purpose backed by a burning desire. Not a vague "I want to be successful." A specific target. A specific vision. The clearer it is, the stronger the pull. Step 2. A definite plan expressed in continuous action. Even a bad plan, moving, is better than a perfect plan sitting still. The plan will improve, but only if you are moving. Step 3. A mind closed tightly against all discouraging influences. This does not mean you stop listening to people. It means you get selective about what you let into the factory. The wrong inputs will poison the output. And when you have no support, the discouraging influences are louder. You have to be more intentional about what you consume, who you talk to, what you read, what you watch. Step 4, and this is the one most people skip, a friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage you to follow through. Now I know what you're thinking. That's the problem. I don't have those people. And I hear you. But hear me back. Hill did not say you need a crowd. He said one or more persons. One person who gets it. One person who is on a similar path. One person who you can call when things get hard, and who will not talk you out of your dream. If you cannot find that person in your physical life, you have to find them in books, in podcasts, in communities online. In the words of people who built what you are trying to build, you are not the first person to walk this road alone. Every person whose name history remembers, they felt what you are feeling. That specific loneliness of being surrounded by people who cannot see what you can see. But they kept going. And the world called it genius. It wasn't genius, it was persistence. But here is the last piece, and it is the most important one to understand. Because persistence without this, it burns out. It breaks down. It turns into resentment or exhaustion. What I'm about to tell you will change the way you think about every setback you have ever experienced, every failure, every disappointment, every time someone let you down. Napoleon Hill made a claim that sounds impossible the first time you hear it. He said every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent advantage. Every failure, not some, not most, every single one. And then he went further. He said the greatest turning points in the lives of people who succeed usually come at the moment of their greatest crisis, their greatest loss, their darkest moment. Not in spite of it, because of it. O. Henry, one of the greatest short story writers who ever lived, discovered his genius while confined in a prison cell. He was forced, by misfortune, to look inward. And when he looked inward, he found something he never knew was there. Beethoven was deaf. And yet the music he created in that silence is still being played 200 years later. Booker T. Washington was born into slavery. He could have defined his entire life by what was done to him, by what was withheld from him, by the systems that worked against him from the moment he drew his first breath. Instead, he said the experience had given him something, a strength, a perspective, a burning knowledge of what it means to be denied and what it means to rise anyway. Lincoln went through failure after failure, personal tragedy, public humiliation, and what we would today call a complete mental breakdown. And Hill said the turning point in the lives of those who succeed usually comes at the moment of some crisis through which they are introduced to their other selves. Their other selves, the version of them that the comfortable life would never have called forward. I want you to sit with that for a moment. Think about what you have been through, the rejections, the times people did not show up for you, the support that was withheld, the discouragement that was given instead, the silence when you needed someone to say, "I believe in you." That silence, I am not going to pretend it didn't hurt. I am not going to tell you to be grateful for people who failed you. Some things were genuinely unfair. Some of the support you deserved, you simply did not receive. And that is a real loss. But the adversity that shaped you also introduced you to a version of yourself that ease and comfort never could have found. The version of you that knows how to keep going without applause. The version of you that has learned to be your own fuel source. The version of you that, when you finally do win, and you will know exactly how you did it. Not because someone handed it to you, but because you built every single piece of it yourself, in the dark, with no map, with no one cheering. That version of you, the one being forged right now in the difficulty you're in, that is not just a winner. That is someone who cannot be defeated. Because you have already survived the thing that stops most people. You have survived building alone. And you are still here. Hill wrote this, and I want you to hear it as though he wrote it directly to you. You may have been disappointed. You may have suffered setbacks and defeat. You may have felt the great heart within you crushed until it bled. Take courage, for these experiences have tempered the spiritual metal of which you are made. They are assets of incomparable value. Assets, not wounds to hide, not proof that you're behind, not evidence that the dream was too big. Assets of incomparable value. The fire you are being built in right now, no one can take that from you. No one can give it to you either. It only comes one way. You are receiving it. So here is where we land. You don't have support, or maybe you have less of it than you need. And for a long time, you've been carrying the weight of that as if it means something about what you're capable of. It doesn't. What it means, the only thing it means, is that you are in the exact conditions that produced every extraordinary person Hill spent 25 years studying. You are in the school that no one enrolls in by choice. And the curriculum is this: a burning, specific, written down desire, not a wish, a decision that you cannot unmake, a mind you program deliberately, every morning and every night, with the vision of who you are becoming. Because if you don't program it, the doubt will. Persistence that does not confuse temporary defeat with permanent failure. Because defeat is a trickster. It loves to arrive just before the breakthrough. 3 feet from gold, it will whisper give up. It's not there. It is there. And the willingness to convert every setback, every failure, every loss, every moment of silence from the people who should have shown up, into fuel, into material, into the making of a version of yourself that no comfortable life could have produced. You are not behind. You are being built. The difference between the people who eventually win and the people who give up is not talent, not privilege, not support. It is the decision, made in the dark, made alone, made without applause, to keep going. Make that decision today, not because it's easy, because you are the kind of person who is always going to have to do it the hard way. And the hard way, done all the way to the end, is the only way that produces someone the world cannot ignore. But there is one more thing I need to tell you, because here is what happens to a lot of people who finally develop this. The burning desire, the persistence, the self-belief built from nothing. They do the inner work. They become the person. And then they get taken apart, quietly, repeatedly, by the people around them. Not through dramatic betrayal, through small things. The colleague who keeps adding to your plate. The family member who calls every crisis an emergency that only you can solve. The friend who needs 3 hours of you every time something goes wrong in their life. The requests that pile up until the time and energy you built, specifically to pursue what matters to you, has been given away in pieces to everyone who knew how to ask. You were never taught how to protect what you built. You were never taught that the word no is not a wall. It is a gate. One that you control. One that determines whether the life you are building actually belongs to you. I made a video about exactly that. About why people who have fought hard to become something still find themselves saying yes when everything in them is saying no. About the specific psychological patterns driving it, and about what to do, practically, to stop it. If you are going to do the work this video asked of you, you need to watch that one next.